Revisit. Okay, Robin Hood. I've got some pictures to show you, two pictures to show you. I'm going to pass them round. When we were here last time, I asked if you knew what colour the suit was that Robin Hood wore. And the answer I was hoping to get was green, and I was going to say it was called Lincoln green. But somebody very clever here, who knew a lot about Robin Hood, said orange. Who was it that said orange? It was. And you're absolutely right, of course. It wasn't the answer I was expecting, but you were right. And you will see in this picture of Robin Hood, right, you'll see that some of his costume is Lincoln green, and some of it is orange. Would you like to pass that round? There was a king in England, and he was called Richard Coeur de Lion, and Richard the Lionheart, because that's what Coeur de Lion means. Richard the Lionheart was quite a good king, and he looked after England very well. He was a very important man, and so important that he had to spend a lot of his time in foreign places. And that meant that he wasn't in England very much. And there was another man that wanted to be king called John. He was his brother, and he really wanted to be king. And he was left in charge while King Richard went away. King John was not a good man. King John was very nasty to all the poor people, and he used to take lots of money from them in what we call taxes. What taxes are when you've got some money and the king wants it. And what does the king want it for, I wonder? What would a king want money from poor people for? Yeah, tell me.
So you can buy lots of stuff.
So he could buy lots of stuff. Do you know what sorts of things he used to buy? Oh, he'd buy lots of food when everybody was starving, and he'd buy lots of wine when nobody had anything to drink but horrible brackish water. And he used to go around, did John, who wanted to be king but wasn't really king, and he would take all the money off the poor people, and all the poor people hated him. And King John had a accomplice, he had a friend who was called the Sheriff of Nottingham. Along comes a man called Robin of Locksley. Robin of Locksley had lots of land and lots of money, and the new king, King John, who wasn't a good man, took it all off him. And so he had nothing at all. And he became a wolf head. Now, how could he become a wolf head? Because the word wolf head, which was used for saying to farmers, there's a bad wolf out there, let's go and catch him, started to be applied to people that we call outlaws. And Robin Hood became an outlaw because Robin of Locksley became called Robin Hood, and he took against the king, and the king said, you can no longer live with the rest of us, you are outlawed, you are thrown out. And so Robin of Locksley, or Robin Hood, went to live in Sherwood Forest. Sherwood Forest was the big forest around Nottingham where all the wolves and the bears and the foxes and all the pigeons and the pheasants and the deer lived. Right? All those things were there, and the outlaws, because there were lots of them by then, all got together with Robin Hood, and they lived in the forest. They lived in the forest, and he became their leader. So there were lots of outlaws living in that forest, and it was a band of people, band of men, mostly. But there were some women amongst them who could live. They would get nuts and berries from the trees and from the bushes, but there weren't always nuts and berries, and they would be very, 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 very hungry. Even more hungry than you are before lunch. And they used to wait until the sheriff, the nasty sheriff of Nottingham, when he had wagons going through the horse-pulled wagons going through the forest, if that had money in it, they used to grab the money, because that money all belonged to the poor people, and the sheriff was taking it down to the bad king. So he used to grab the money out of the trucks and the wagons, and they used to give it back to the poor people. But I think they probably used to keep a little bit of it to buy some food for themselves. Okay?